The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Power Trading Hour with your host, David White. Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now, David White.
And welcome all to another exciting edition of the Power Trading Hour with me, your humble, lovable, and squeezably soft host. Once more into the breach do we go, dear friends.
The following takes place between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m.
Every day, folks, every day. We're off almost 9 points on the S&P cash, 2.5 billion shares. So volume has picked up, what are we? We're almost 500 million shares ahead on the New York Consolidated tape at this time from yesterday. And, of course, off 8 points is not all that exciting. We were up to 2070 of the high today. But, you know, it's I think what we have here is a lot of justified fear on Apple earnings. But my guess is it will be for naught. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. But it looks to me like we're going to hurry up and wait, just like the Army. Hurry up and wait for Apple earnings and some others after the bell. Then it will be hurry up and wait for the FOMC meeting tomorrow, where I don't think that there's any way in the world they can even hint that they will ever raise interest rates ever again. And I think at that point, we'll all know that maybe this is as good as it gets. It's going to be extremely hard to get this market down before the end of the year. We are into the part where if you are going to do tax selling, you really get it. But they're just, there's individual stocks. But if you're in some kind of ETF that tracks the indexes, you're probably sitting okay. If you didn't sell last time, are you going to sell now without a huge justification? I think there's a lot of people starting to sneak out the exits, but it's very much starting to remind me of 1999, where everybody was waiting for the first day of 2000 to sell into it. I would not be going long big name stocks out here. We, of course, will go through earnings here in a minute, but it has become problematic at best, and we'll talk more about that. But we'll get into Apple too. But I think that there's some interesting stuff now that I've had some time to dig through exactly what happened with Apple in the last 2 trading days. So we'll get all into that. At this point, what we need to do is get this party started.
That it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
What we have is 1962 on this day. Complicated and tension-filled negotiations between the United States and the Soviet Union finally resulted in a plan to end the 2-week-old Cuban Missile Crisis, a frightening period in which nuclear holocaust seems imminent and began to come to an end. Of course, I had some people email me about my dad. He was a colonel in the Air Force, actually was the first, when the Air Force split from the Army, when it used to be the Army Air Force, was the first commissioned officer in the Air Force. And other than them splitting apart, of course, he wouldn't have been that. Flew a variety of planes, about 15 different ones over his time. But one of the things he did fly was the U-2. People ask me, well, did he fly over there? Of course, the one things that I did know that he talked about, of course, was flying the U-2s in the Pacific. His job in the later 50s during the atomic tests on the little atolls was to get in one of these U-2s that was a trainer and put a scientist in the back, and he would fly around the nuclear clouds in a spacesuit. Of course, they were all in spacesuits. Things flew almost 70,000 feet high. And the scientist would point it like a finger coming off the nuclear cloud. His job was to fly through it, and he had a little string, or the scientist did, and he'd pull the string and open up a little tubes underneath the wings, and they'd collect samples, and then of course they'd come back down. And at the time, I didn't know it, but he would come back, and my mom would tell him he'd come back and look like he was beet red. Well, they take him out of the airplane and literally scrub him down with a Brillo pad until he couldn't go out in the sun for about a month. And he'd do that, I don't know, for a while, and then come back. He'd have 2 or 3 months, and then they'd send him back away. We wouldn't see him for 4 weeks, and then he'd come back. And if he did any of the rest of the stuff, kind of tough to know. I know that he ended up crashing a B-25 and a B-17, and that was early on in the 1948 or 49. At that time, they were taking all the serial numbers off of the engine blocks and any placard that had English on it. And basically, they stripped the planes down so there's no proof that it was an American plane. His job was to fly these B-17s at treetop level and look and try to find out where the radar was in Soviet Russia. And the thing was that they welded a door shut behind him in the cockpit. The only way to get in and out of it was in the windows. And the CIA boys at the time were more than welcome to load anything they wanted into the plane and would never tell them. And it was not uncommon for them to overload the plane, so it was too heavy to get off. One time they crashed before they made it off the end of the runway. Another time, apparently it crashed just over the fence into Russia, literally within like a half a mile. And they all dove out of the plane as it crashed and ran back across the fence, so to speak, and got back out of it. But first time when it crashed on the runway, it got a little bit crispy, got a little bit burnt. So 2 airplane crashes. Anyway, the U-2 plane, of course, critical in 1962. I have no idea if he did anything on that. Of course, everybody, I'm sure, was at full alert. And, of course, I was only 2, so I had no idea what was going on. Never heard anything about it. But he told me about that and the time that he was flying through the nuclear cloud of a bomb, and the engines flamed out. The plane had like a 23 or 25 to 1 glide path, and he literally was able, whatever altitude they were at, he was literally able to point the airplane back at the airport that he'd taken off from and fly back all the way to it. And he had to get under 20,000 feet to get the engines to fire, but you only had one chance. He had about 10 seconds of power to get the engines fired back up after he flamed out. And, of course, he had the scientists in the back seat on his, playing Pac-Man on him all the way. And anyway, he got back, saw the plane. It could have landed literally on the airport and fired it back up, and it fired up, and he landed normally. He told me he got chewed out big time for not turning on the radios and everything and let him know that he was okay. And, of course, he said, if I did that, then there was no way to ever restart the engines. And, of course, everybody always wants to second guess you. I always thought that was an interesting story. On this day in 1962, of course, a lot of people thought we'd gone toe-to-toe with the Ruskies and won. What no one knew at the time, other than about a handful of 3 or 4 people in the White House, is we knew everything that the Soviets had would probably blow up in the launch tubes. Everything they had was broken, didn't work, probably wouldn't have come anywhere close to hitting anything, because we had a mole in the Kremlin that told us everything, and also told us that 9/10 of the stuff they had was all mocked up. It wouldn't have gone boom or anything. And why it seemed very tense, apparently in the White House they knew there was very little chance that the Ruskies would go to toe with us, because they knew all their equipment would not work very well, if at all. Later on, by 1968, they'd cleaned up a lot of that stuff. It wouldn't have been great for us, but at that point, we kind of knew, and they didn't know that we knew, that we had a mole inside the Kremlin to let us know. Anyway, on this day in 1962, probably as close as we've ever been to all-out world thermonuclear war. After the bell tonight, we've got Aflac, Akamai, Anadarko. Apple, of course, is the big one. Macarat, Panera Bread, Solar Winds, who has nothing to do with solar, and Twitter. Of course, the big one's going to be Apple, and we'll get into why I think that's interesting. Let's just go to that. Yesterday, of course, Dialog Semi was down 20%. They are a German manufacturer. I don't think they even trade here through an ADR. I think it's through something else here in the United States. Anyway, they were down 20%. Everybody was yelling and screaming. Of course, Apple had gone up to 18, almost 19 bucks. Sold off pretty hard yesterday. The idea was they were 80% of what Dialog Semi does goes into the iPhone 5 and 6. And basically, they were making forward-looking statements that make me think not that Apple is not selling a ton of phones, maybe not as much as Apple would like, but Dialog Semi makes one part, and it's $3 in the iPhone. $3 of the $229 or $235 it costs to build one is from Dialog Semi. It is a power management chip. Now, several years ago, in fact, probably 2 years ago, 2.5 now, Apple bought a lot of the Texas Instrument and other semi-design firm locations down in Austin, Texas. And this was some of the locations from IBM, Texas Instruments, Motorola, and hired 3,500 people as design engineers. But the interesting part of this is that what do you think these guys are doing down there? They're designing their own chips that no one else will have access to. The one thing that Steve Jobs hated was making a huge business for smartphones and then everybody else glomming on. He believed that that business was his and his alone. The only way to do that is control your own hardware. So I suspect that they're making screens to go up against Samsung. They're going up against chips like Semi to do power management. And, of course, part of this power management has a lot to do with the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi parts of the smartphones to get as much battery life as you can out of it. But my guess is that's all being wrapped up into chips that Apple is making themselves. I don't think Apple sales are going through the roof, but I can't see that Dialog Semi is really any kind of canary in the coal mine when it comes to Apple. Anyway, we'll be back after the break. You can give me a call at 877-927-6648.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABC's, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crisp crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Biotech is booming, but for how long? Whether you think the biotech bull has room to run or has run its course, trade LABU or LABD. Direction's daily S&P Biotech 3 times bull and bear ETFs. Visit directioninvestments.com/biotech today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. Dave takes your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
Anyway, kind of interesting just to see what else is going on. Digitimes, which is a big online magazine of Taiwan's business. Basically, it wraps up what people are buying, memory, other things like that. Kind of the commodity newsletter of Taiwan and South Pacific. But they print, memory prices for the day. They actually have a place, kind of a equivalent of like the Kansas City markets for commodities, where you go in and actually, pig bottoms and all the other stuff. But the one thing that they had pretty much last night too was that the iPad Pro, which is supposed to hit shops in November, Apple has only placed a very limited amount of units for. And I suspect that is because, in fact, I saw it at lunch today. I went over to Best Buy and looked at the brand new tablet from Microsoft, and also the new Surface tablet and notebook, which is what I was trying to talk about. But the notebook was very interesting. But they're basically talking about this iPad Pro as a 10-inch killer product to go with IBM, which we'll get into in a minute. To put a dedicated apps together for the medical industry and that kind of stuff. And it looks to me like there's absolutely nothing that comes close in Apple's lineup right now to the Surface 4 and the Surface 4 Book, which is their laptop. And at the price points, they're pretty expensive devices from IBM. But can you justify paying another 35 or 40% for the same thing from Apple? And, short of Apple selling these into vertical markets with IBM, it seems to be tough. So I think Apple continues to be a product that's going to be almost solely based on what it can do in the phone business, and that makes it problematic going forward. But is the run rate going to stay the same? As long as it does, and as long as they can keep margins up, it will be okay. But I don't see anything that says, and looking at options, looks like they're going to continue to compress. Certainly looks like if we got a $2 move in Apple, I would probably be surprised tonight. So at least from what the market is expecting, they're not expecting much. And I think maybe all this kind of up and down action will get a lot of people out. But it would take some kind of huge surprise that I think that the market and people following Apple are not suspecting. And it's a big company. If you have the kind of resources that a Goldman Sachs has or Morgan Stanley and your analyst, not only can you read everything that's free, you can, buy a nice dinner for people in the shipping department or do other stuff. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff that you can't just hide. And maybe they know, maybe they don't. But generally, the option market makers would know. And as far as I can tell, if we got down to 113, I think it would be pretty interesting. But I don't, outside of Apple, if they're going to supply some really bad numbers, it doesn't look like anybody else knows. So they've kept it very close to the vest. If they have, I just don't see anything that makes me think that the big people of Wall Street with all the shares in it are expecting a number that suggests that Apple has dropped the chalupa. In fact, I think they're probably going to talk about decent numbers again through the end of the year. Biggest problem what Apple has is they need to get something started that really starts to replace this in case things start heading south. It's certainly not the iPad. It's certainly not Apple TV. And it's certainly not Apple Music. They've had a lot of strikes this year. And I think that's probably the worst thing that you can say going into the numbers tonight. What else? Andy says he doesn't like the Steve Jobs movie. But he says it sucked. But other than that, he'll be back in the 5 o'clock hour. Maybe he'll be telling us what's going on in that. When we get back, we'll talk about IBM. They've got some accounting issues, but I don't think that there's that much of a big deal in that. Those big companies, you just got too many people out there to cause a problem. Is it a hiccup? Probably a speeding ticket. Maybe a big speeding ticket, but I don't think a big problem. Bigger problem IBM has is sales, and we'll talk about that too when we come back.
The Path of Least Resistance is David White's daily trading newsletter, and if you're looking for active trading ideas, then now's a perfect time for a 30-day free trial to this powerful daily trading advisory service. David uses his years of trading experience to offer his subscribers his trading ideas each morning in his Path of Least Resistance newsletter. Using a combination of equity trades along with options, David keeps his subscribers up to date with all pertinent market information with intraday afternoon updates when warranted. Don't miss out on this great chance to get a 30-day free trial to David's daily newsletter, The Path of Least Resistance, with no obligation to pay anything. David has been delivering solid recommendations for his subscribers recently, and if you'd like to see the type of newsletter he delivers every morning, then visit the front page of TFNN, and you'll find The Path of Least Resistance under Trading Newsletters. For all the details and to start your 30-day free trial today, log on to TFNN.com now. Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
If you're looking for a great opportunity to diversify your financial portfolio and hedge against the falling stock market, consider the new Market Safe Metals Hedge CD from Everbank. This 5-year indexed U.S. dollar-denominated CD gives you exposure to metals with gold and silver components and allows you to hedge against falling equities with a short component on the SPY ETF. You can earn up to 45% capped upside payment at maturity if gold and silver increase in value and the SPY ETF decreases across annual pricing dates. And should the opposite occur, your principal is 100% protected. Keep in mind, returns are based on CD performance. There is no annual percentage yield or periodic rate of interest on the CD. Don't let fallen markets get you down. Get the Metals Hedge CD. The November 12th funding deadline is quickly approaching, so hurry over to everbank.com/TFNN for the CD's term sheet and other important product details and disclosures. Once again, that's everbank.com/TFNN. This is sponsored content. Everbank is a member FDIC.
This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Yeah, I had one more question. We'll get to it and then start looking at charts. In fact, let's go ahead and pop Apple up at the moment. Andy has a Steve Jobs sighting story. And surprise, surprise, Steve Jobs was a dick to him. Maybe he'll bring it up on his show tonight at 5. Or maybe even with Tom O'Brien. Maybe he'll bring it up. We'll have to find out. But everybody I know has a Steve Jobs dick story that I've ever met in Silicon Valley if they ever bumped into him. Andy says with a capital D. Anyway, what do we got going? Oh, we had a question in the den about how about new iPhone pricing strategies and the impact? I normally go to Best Buy once or twice a week as my job as Swami of technology here at TFNN. And I asked the people that were that have phones or that sell the phones, I asked them how things are going, if anything really matters. And they said, to everybody now, since they're including it in the payment, it doesn't matter really to the customers who are buying. So at least they're saying they don't think that the salespeople at Best Buy, which are probably the only real places you can get, they said it really doesn't matter. People either come in and they either want to buy an iPhone or they're thinking about buying one or they're going to buy an Android phone, and that's it. He says there's not a whole lot of turning people into Apple users. He says they're either going to buy it or they're not. He says if some of the people that are on the fence, if they're going to move, they'll move to the Android just because of the expense compared to the iPhones. They just don't use it, or they don't understand it, or they don't care. All they do is use the phone part of it. They're not real big into all the apps and texting and everything else. And he says, it's just kind of a use case. If they can't come up with it, it doesn't matter. And of course, now that they're, if I didn't explain it enough and you don't remember, we've talked about how some of the carriers like T-Mobile have moved the price of the phone into a line item on the bill instead of just including it in the price of their monthly billing with data. And the idea was what would happen on it. So far, it doesn't seem like it's really changed either the price that Apple's charging to its carriers and or the adoption. To me, the bigger thing is whether or not people are willing to spend the additional money to buy a newer phone if they have an iPhone 5 now, and the diminishing returns on buying the new phone. If you're 25, apparently the only thing in the world that matters to you is an iPhone. You can drive a piece of crap car, and the only thing, or probably don't even drive it anymore. And my friend's two sons, he says they could really care less about cars. He says they all want a new iPhone. And of course, everybody our age seems to care less. Anyway, Apple up here, it came, it filled its gap. Of course, on Friday, came back down with a little bit more volume out here. They would have to come up with a whale of a surprise to fool the market, and that's what I don't think they're going to do. Now, stocks that are moving today, quite a bit of them. We've got, we'll go through these as fast as possible. Steve, maybe Steve Rhodes will bring up his jobs story. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. Where's my Baidu? Because I have to spell it correctly. Baidu's up $6 today. It's kind of trying to make its way back up into this big gap down. It's right at that level now from the 28th of July, and that had 27 million shares on the way down. We've got about 9 million shares. You've got a double gap at about 192. With all the money that China's throwing around now, I would not be surprised to see maybe you get Baidu back up to that 192 level, and at that point, maybe look at it again as a short, but I'd have to say that's a problem. What else do we have out here? Earnings this morning in the leather department, which is Andy Heck's favorite part. He likes leather. Is Coach. And this had a huge volume spike, tried to get back up into the August 7th high, $33.50, 6.9 million shares. And didn't quite get there. It was 32 cents short, yeah. And pulled right back into this trading range. I tell you what, you got a lot of people that are stuck in the stock, and any glimmer of hope of getting out of this thing, and my guess is that they will be hitting the sell button as quickly as they can. That's going to be under a lot. Of course, all the transportation companies kind of getting some movement out here. CSX, of course, earnings in the train business off $1 on CSX, which is almost 4%. Not a lot of volume out here, but interesting to see that. What else did we have? UNP is on my list, which is Union Pacific. It is down, and volume is picking up on this one. So we'll have that one. Also in transportation, we had UPS. They are off $3. And this is exactly what you're looking at here. I've speculated that Amazon's move to supplant UPS drivers as the delivery agents of local choice could continue to be an issue. And with dollar volume up in UPS, the ground is what's really starting to cut into the profits of UPS, at least from what they're saying. And I suspect that is because I'm starting to see when I get my Amazon packages delivered and other things, it's either from the post office and they shove it in my mailbox the same day, or it's occasionally FedEx, and or it's a private firm that is resident here in Tampa. They are not using UPS ground too much to ship anything to me from Amazon. And I think that may be one of the reasons that they're really starting to hurt on that ground service. Everything else looked pretty good. Of course, fuel prices are down, and they still can't get going. And that tells me there's something wrong. And I suspect that maybe it's that Amazon not using them that's really starting to hurt. What else did we have out here? Talked about IBM, apparently some accounting issues. For these very large companies, it's kind of hard for me to see that maybe this is a huge issue. Normally what you come to find out is that there's a lot of gray space, and they may have been pushing the gray space. My guess is that it didn't violate any laws, may have violated some GAAP rules, but we'll have to see on that. Volume did spike through the August 25th low at 140.62 that had 7 million shares. Already have 9 million shares on that day. But of course, she kind of came down on the 20th with 16 million shares. So I think you might have Mr. Buffett out here as the buyer of last resort at about 40. I wouldn't be expecting a whole lot out here unless something majorly happens in it. Other train companies, Choo Choo is a KSU. Now, this is breaking down today. It looks like it could have decent volume. What we're trying to get is, or what the goalpost is, the August 25th low with 2.5 million shares. We're breaking that today, $86.38, 1.8 million shares so far. I think you could say you're going to do 2.5 by the end of the day. We're going to have to really keep an eye on that. Of course, we've got some buyout news. That is Rite Aid. Rite Aid is, what was it? Yeah, it's W. Is it W? What is it? Can't remember who's buying them out now. But a huge day for them. I remember the guy used to call me forever wanting to buy Rite Aid every month. It was like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half. And eventually it became a buy, but I think he called for 6 months. It never was one. Yeah, Rite Aid is the buyout. I'm thinking, wasn't it WBA? I can't remember who's buying them out. I'll think about it in a minute. T-Mobile was out with a news, and maybe that's what's got a little people a little bit, Walgreen Boots Alliance, WBA. This is a nice little, is this the same thing? I haven't looked at these stocks in a long time. Let's just make sure. What do they have to do with boots? Huh? It's the same thing. I haven't looked in this stock in a long time. Okay, so this is the drug company, and they're buying out, and everybody likes it too. Well, that's interesting. Isn't that special? What else did we look at here? Did we get to Grubhub? That's the disaster du jour, GRUB. On earnings, down $7.82. It's going to blow out its low. So let's go back and see just how far back we can go on this and see if we can find any low. Just another one of these IPOs that was super stinky. And, it's going to blow out its all-time low today. I don't know if you can say anything else other than that. It's got volume, and just another one of the highly questionable IPOs of the last year or two. We did that one. We did that one. Just want to make sure I get through my list here. We did KSU. PCAR is off 6% today. PACCAR It's going against its low. It spiked below it. Looks like it may close back above it, but it's going to have a volume out here. The October 2nd low at $50 had 6.3 million shares. We've gone through it with 5.2 million shares so far, but going to close back into the trading range in here. And let's pick up the profile. Designs, manufacturers distribute light, medium, and heavy-duty trucks and related aftermarket parts worldwide. Wonder how much that has to do with companies like UPS saying that they have problem with ground deliveries. Don't know how much it is. ODFL also. ODFL. Old Dominion Freightliners, of course, in that same vein, blew through the low, and it's back into the trading range today. September 29th got to $60.40, 1.2 million shares. Through it with 2.2 million shares, but back in trading range here halfway through the day. So a lot of interesting stuff going on out here, so we'll keep an eye on it. Angie's List, kind of interesting to see this thing kind of spike in the last couple of days, back up, but you know, it's going against 26 million shares, talking about additionally questionable IPOs. February 18th had $7.80, 26 million shares. Spiked through it yesterday with a 2.5 million shares, right back into the trading range. And one of my my walking dead stocks that'll be around for a while. Yeah, let's see. You can give me a call, 877-927-6648. Get you in the last segment. We still have a couple minutes left in this one. COG, Cabot Oil and Gas. Of course, a lot of people trying to look at the lows in crude out here. I'm thinking that 43 bucks holds at least for a week or two. I didn't see enough energy to really blow out the lows. We are down 75% on crude today at 43.24, but should be fairly decent support out here. I didn't see the kind of energy to really blow that out at the moment. Of course, we'll have EIA numbers at 10:30 tomorrow while we wait for the FOMC announcement at 2. But other than that, I can't see a lot moving this market. Maybe if the crude numbers really came off, maybe they'd affect the market. But right now, off 75 cents. I just didn't see the kind of energy or anything in the stocks that really made me think that the blowout in the bottom was out here. Some of these stocks, though, that were the most questionable, which are these limited partnerships and other phony accounting schemes to get people to buy these stocks at when the oil was at the highs, like EVP, which is EV Energy Partners. It does have the volume to break its October 1st low that had 550,000 shares. It's already equaled that and broken that low. But when you go back and look at these things, they were perfect at bringing these limited partnerships and all the other scams out here absolutely at the highs of the market and selling those wells forward. And, you know, if someone's got a oil well that's gushing oil at 160 bucks a barrel, I don't think that's the time to buy. Thought out here is, you know, when crude's maybe 16 bucks, maybe that's the time to be buying oil wells. I don't think I would be buying them like these limited partnerships for oil at the highs, but that's just me. We'll be back in a minute.
TFNN is excited to offer a brand new piece of market scanning software unlike anything the industry has ever seen. John Logan and his team have spent years developing their market profile tools to finally be able to release the TAS Profile Scanner Plus. And right now you can get a 2-week trial absolutely free just by visiting TFNN.com and providing us your name and email address. The TAS Profile Scanner Plus is the premier market profile based scanner in the industry, powered by the acclaimed TAS proprietary algorithms, this feature-rich scanner is a standalone desktop software that instantly filters over 2,500 global financial markets such as stocks, ETFs, commodity futures, and Forex. Within 3 minutes of signing up, you can have the software downloaded and running on your computer with a complete roadmap of market indicators and inflection points to trade off using the TAS Profile Scanner Plus. Sign up today and try this amazing piece of software by visiting TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to The Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Trader's Edge, heard daily at TFNN.com and author of Mastering Probability, a daily investment and trading newsletter service that I send out each morning by 8 a.m. My morning newsletter service covers exactly what the markets have been doing since last night's close, providing you with an edge on your trading day ahead. You get actionable trading ideas, including the exact entry, stop, and profit targets. Plus, I'll teach you the patterns and hidden market correlations that will make you a better trader. As a subscriber, you'll gain access to my 90-minute money management workshop, where I'll teach you the secrets that'll save your assets. The bottom line, I've got your back, including a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the type of analysis I provide each trading day by signing up for Mastering Probability today. With nothing to lose, this is an offer you should not pass on. Mastering Probability can be found under Trading Newsletters on the front page of TFNN.com.
Catch Tom O'Brien, professional trader and educator, founder of TFNN. Also, a special guest on CNBC. Tom will bisect and dissect the markets. The Tom O'Brien Show, next on TFNN.
And we're back. A few more earnings out here. Southern Copper, no big whip out here. It's down on a little bit of light volume, but I don't know if you can make anything out of this day so far. Maybe something else coming out of it here, but it's still on its trend line, so it hadn't busted down any farther down. I think you could probably make a case that it is busting the trend line from the August 24th low, but I just don't see a great deal in it there. Of course, one of the other stocks that was a disaster du jour is Rent-A-Center, and they're just saying things are not picking up. I don't know why. Apparently, they've got a lot of these kiosks when you read in here, and they spent some money on those things, and people aren't using the kiosks to buy stuff. Gross margins, same-store sales remain under heavy pressure, reinforcing concerns over Rent-A-Center's financial and competitive position against others like Aaron's Rents. It may be just that. I never could I dug through this last night. Never really could figure out why this thing was doing so poorly. It may just be competition is really getting good on it. Some people did say that also that companies like Best Buy and other retailers are getting much better at marketing themselves to people that have financial difficulties in their past or even present. But they're doing much better at servicing those, and so people don't have to go to the Aaron's Rents or the Rent-A-Centers and pay ludicrous levels. They just pay way more than they should. But, this thing blew away. It's low. So we continue to see a lot of earnings coming short of the glory of God and getting punished and sent to hell. And, of course, I don't know what else you can say about Rent-A-Center here other than it is a disaster for a epic proportion, and probably not a lot else you can say about it other than that. There were a few other stocks I wanted to get to out here that I thought were interesting. Priceline is getting above some recent highs out here, and not a lot of juice in this one. They got earnings coming up, I think the 9th of November, if I remember right, August 5th, $13.95, 2.1 million shares, 860,000 shares yesterday, light volume today at 328. And this is another company that I think we'll be watching very closely into earnings. It is a price for perfection, and I continue to wonder what the dollar is going to do to some of these travel stocks as we look at it. And of course, the dollar index kind of flat today, 4 cents. If even the Fed even mentioned the possibility of a rate hike, I think we're probably a buck higher in the dollar index. If they actually say that they're going to raise rates, I'm looking at the dollar index to hit 100 in a matter of nanoseconds. But my guess is tomorrow with the news that the Fed is going to and not do much. And I should have played my will she or won't she parody for that. I forgot to do it today. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, even though the announcement will be out right before this show, and we'll get it. Anyway, we got 2 hours of the Tom O'Brien show, and I'm sure he'll be handling a lot of those earnings in the 4 o'clock hour. And, of course, the Big Mac Daddy, the A-bomb, the Eagle lands at 4:30 Eastern time with Apple. And I think everybody probably ignore everything other than that from earnings tonight, because it will continue to be, whatever, 12, 14, 15% of the NASDAQ. And that's all that matters. We'll be back tomorrow, same bat channel, same bat time. Until then, sell when you can, not when you have to.
Larry Pesavento has just started his brand new service, Fibonacci 24/7, and he's already delivering content to his subscribers on a daily basis when the market's opened and even on weekends. Each Monday, you'll receive Larry's written report that provides detailed commentary and a summary on the charts and videos that Larry sends out. And throughout the week, when warranted, Larry will send out via charts or videos or both the key markets that he is watching during the day. This will be up-to-the-date, active trading information that will help you in your daily trading. In Larry's first week alone, he sent out 25 charts, 6 videos, and a full report to his subscribers in just 1 week. If you're a technical trader that uses patterns and retracements to trade, then Larry's service Fibonacci 24/7 is something that you must try. Right now, new subscribers can get a full 30-day money-back guarantee. With nothing to risk, sign up now to Larry Pesavento's Fibonacci 24/7 by visiting the front page of TFNN.com under Trading Newsletters.
You're watching Tiger TV.